The next speaker will be Hugh, who's from Pastor Mota. He will be sharing about his project with Tiger NFT project with Tiger. And after Hugh will be Ryan. Ryan will be sharing his sold out project, manga Hikari project. That's very interesting. And then after Ryan, we'll have Roy and Henry zooming in from Australia to talk to us about their project with Australia Open and a lot of other interesting projects that they have done. Yeah, so stay tuned. So without further ado, let me bring on Hugh. Okay, let me just quickly introduce Hugh. Hugh Koh is the co-founder of Malaysian streetwear label PMC, Pastel and Mortar Clothing, and has worked with some of the world's most prominent brands such as KFC, Pepsi, Honda, Milo, Asia, etc. February 2022, February 2022, sorry. PMC collaborates with Tiger Beer and embarks on its first NFT collection in line with the year of the Tiger. Yeah, so Hugh, welcome.
Hi guys, hi everyone here as well as all those as well tuning in online. Thanks so much for coming. I think first up, I do want to put out a disclaimer. I think unlike many of these other speakers featured here today, I'm very, very new to the space. My sort of journey started early 2021. And obviously, I still somewhat remember when I came across this word of like NFTs. And, I had some friends who were investing into it and they were talking about it. And they were like, Hugh, have you seen what's happening within this space? But, I mean, somewhat that kind of just flown by really, really quick. And I think it came from like some really close friends of mine who is really active within the space. And they were saying, Hugh, I think, PMC obviously being a lifestyle brand, there is an opportunity for it to, move into this space. So at that point in time, I was like somewhat thinking about it, and I think as PMC itself, we're always looking at, how do we somewhat push the boundaries. So, for us, we're like, okay, maybe let's explore it. So here today, I'm just going to be taking you guys through, my experience over the past, 6 to 7 months working on the project. I think some of the challenges, but also some of the wins, some of the things that we've learned along the way. So I'm just going to be taking you guys through. So welcome to the Tiger Archives. Next, please. Next slide. Okay, so what exactly is the Tiger Archives? I think, first up, like Zico said, it is PMC's and Tiger Beer's first NFT collection. Another thing as well, it's really apt for the time in terms of timing wise. It's a lucky charm to kickstart the Tiger year. It's a generative collection comprising of 6,688 lucky tigers, and each of them are actually unique and all hand drawn by my team itself. So we have over 6,000 over tigers with over 86 over trades. So owning one of these NFTs, it unlocks a series of perks, be it digital and also in real life. And I'll explain to you our reasoning behind, why we decided to go down this route and some of the choices that we made along the way. But I think most importantly, two other things that we wanted this project to achieve is that number one, it was a platform for education. So I think just our communities itself, PMC together with Tiger Beer, a lot of them are actually non-crypto native communities. So, we wanted to be able to educate people. We really see a lot of value within this NFT space, and we really think like it is really truly the future. So how can we somewhat be at the forefront of it? How can we somewhat lead that charge here in Malaysia? And that was one of the driving factors. So I think this is also the approach that we've been taking whenever we approach any project or just our business in general. It's always the why. Understanding why we're moving into the space. I think consumers these days, they are very, really smart. Everyone somewhat understands or can actually see through you in terms of your ideas or even your decisions that you make. So for us, the why was very, very important. And I've got 5 different things here, which, we kind of said, okay, I think first up, going back to the brand itself, I think it somewhat makes sense. PMC has always been in the business of selling hype and cool. And I think NFTs, they achieve exactly that. I think previously as well, the previous speaker was talking about a lot of NFTs are status symbols. It's all about the culture of FOMOing as well, where I've got this, you don't, type of attitude. And I think very similarly to my industry, which is streetwear and street apparel, it's very much like that. Whether it be sneakers, whether it be certain type of clothes, or whatever type of accessories that we do create. So I think it somewhat made sense to us that, as the brand PMC, moving into the NFT space. That's number one. Second of all is I'm a really firm believer in evolving or dying. One of those kind of things where I think I've been running the business now together with the team for about 13 years, coming up to 13 years. And I think the only reason we have somewhat been able to still be relevant and to still be around here till today is that we're always evolving. And I think personally, as for myself, there are also many challenges, right? Where trends are changing so quick. But I somewhat feel, as my personality itself, you always tend to like a certain something, and that's difficult to change because that's just the way that you've been brought up. So how then do you influence yourself, or how do you then grow the business to evolve with the landscape? And a lot of it is actually through my team. So we're not a very big team. We're about 25 of us, but a lot of them, I've been hiring a lot of younger people. Because back in the day when we started the brand, it was me on the ground and seeing things and partying and speaking to people. But these days, it is really the people, the team itself, which has actually, been informing me and keeping me up to date. So, I'm a big believer of like evolving the business. Another one is obviously digital, being digitally focused. I mean, even this before NFTs itself for PMC as a brand, obviously the pandemic fast-tracked this process because back then we used to have quite a lot of brick and mortar stores, but we've been closing a lot of our stores. And I think for us, the focus moving forward is really e-commerce, and we want to be able to focus on that as well. So, NFTs within that digital space, and also something I wanted to highlight on that digital front. A friend of mine introduced me to Discord. So Discord is a very popular channel, social channel that people use within the NFT space, whether it be talking about communities or just getting your project out there, or even just a form of communication. So when I came across Discord and when I started investing into NFTs and I started using it, I really felt that sense of community on Discord, whether it be and that's a little bit difficult to comprehend because I think 1 year ago when people told me like if people actually tell me like, oh, check out my friends, they're all on Discord. I never quite understood that. But I think until you experience it, until you're on it, you really get to feel that feeling of like, wow, I'm really a part of something. So I highly encourage that. And I think for us as well, one of the big moves that we did leading up to this project was that, hey, I told all the guys, and a lot of my guys also are all non-crypto native people, right? So I told them, I said, I'm moving all team comms onto Discord itself. For all of them, they're like, oh, here goes Hugh again, changing up in terms of our process flows. But I kind of thought that was so important because if we're going to be building this community on Discord and we're going to be using it 24 hours, this is all of us actually need to know what Discord's about. So for about 8 months leading into the project, I moved entire team across to Discord, and that is where all our team comms somewhat happened. Timing. So timing in terms of launching the project, like I said, I think in a way I would say the stars somewhat aligned. I found out about NFTs, like I said, early last year. But I think one of the main things was, we were thinking about this project and we were gearing up. But I think what really helped is that a lot of the bigger brands were also coming into the space. Things like Nike, people like Adidas, a lot of these lifestyle brands. So I think this was always like, all of it was somewhat great timing for us because they somewhat led the charge. And a lot of people, I mean, NFTs maybe 6 months ago, a lot of people still wouldn't have heard that word. But today, everyone in this room has in some way or form heard this word NFT before. And it's because of all these people who have been, somewhat driving that change. So I think timing was another one. And I think lastly is always give back. A big part of our business is, we're in the culture of selling cool, but I think a big part as well is always about legacy. how else can we somewhat leave our mark here in this world? We all know that to create impact you need money, and what we wanted to create through this project is also being able to craft out, whether it be in the form of the public sale or even the royalties, to be able to contribute back and to be able to build something. So I'm going to touch a little bit on this thing called the Tiger Uncaged Fund, which we've also created. Next slide, please. Sorry, it's loading. Okay. The challenges and how we address them. Can I move this mic a little bit closer because I need to see my notes on the screen? Can I move it forward a little bit? Yeah, maybe this spotlight as well. Okay. So some of the challenges that we highlighted or we came across, from the very get-go. I think first up is really understanding the space. We are creatives at heart, and that's always been our forte. Like, we're creative people. But when it comes to the whole blockchain, when it comes to NFTs, there's also that technical aspect of it, and that is something we knew nothing of. So one of our first things that we actually had to do once we locked the project down was to actually look for good partners and to help us somewhat bring this idea to life. And in terms of the partners itself, there are actually a lot of people, out there. You pay them money, they can write you the contract, the smart contracts, and you can pretty much, launch your NFT collection. But a big criteria for myself was that I wanted a partner who was willing to take us through that journey, who is willing to spend time with us to explain exactly what is happening. So we actually came across these true friends. We came across these two gentlemen based out in Melbourne. One of them is actually Malaysian, the other one is Australian. So we actually partnered up with them, and they were really interested. And they're like true degens at heart. So they're living and breathing this space for, I think, like the past 6-7 years. They've been, they're all programmers, and that's what they've been doing. So I think that's the first thing, in terms of understanding space without experience. And we work together with people who understood the space to help us, guide us along the way. Second of all would be setting ourselves apart in design and utility. So obviously we did a lot of research leading up to the project, and a big part of it is that we realized that, hey, a lot of people, what's popular right now are profile pictures. Profile pictures like your CryptoPunks, like your Bored Ape Club, they're all like profile photos that you can use for your social media, right? So we wanted a different approach, and you can see this image over here. It's a series of 12 of our lucky tigers. And a lot of the inspiration came from our lead designer, Jack, who was inspired by like tarot cards. A lot of it was also based off culture and heritage, just because it was launched around the Chinese New Year period. We also wanted an NFT that speaks of who we are. So we're all Asian boys. This is what we know, right? It's identity, it's culture, it's heritage. So we wanted that to be reflective of who we are. And that is why you actually see, what you see on the screen here today. Getting the buy-in from the team. So like I said, the entire team itself, none of them are actually crypto native. So having to educate them. So the first thing we did is like we ran like different sessions of like our social evenings together with the team. Like, everyone download a MetaMask wallet, and then I'll teach them to do that. Okay, everyone, you know what? I'm going to gift you guys your first NFT. So you need to if I know that I can't do it alone. It really needs to be a team effort. There's so much work that's actually poured behind it, which I'll be talking about as well. And therefore the team is super important. Getting the buy-in from our existing communities, the same things, the same approach. The PMC community itself, there's so many people who have never invested into cryptocurrency, and I think that education was a big part that we had to work on. Another one was the price point. I think very early in the project, one of the things that we already striked on was that Tiger beer, number one, one of the big things was that, we knew that price point would be an issue here in Malaysia. I don't think people actually have that kind of spending power, like whether it be, the Western countries or even like in Singapore for that matter. So we knew a big part of this project was supposed to be catered towards the Singapore market. Because you speak about like in terms of within Asia itself, like Hong Kong, Singapore, these are the two main key markets in the NFT space. So we really wanted to center around that. I think even getting a partner like Tiger Beer, it made total sense. People don't actually know, not many people know the PMC name, but a lot of people know the Tiger brand. So how then do we leverage off that? How then do we, use that to our advantage? And so the price point itself, a lot of projects around that time, they were selling for like 0.08 ETH. That's a pretty standard type pricing. So we decided to actually lower ours, and we went in at 0.05 Ethereum. The technical aspect, I think I touched that, with our partners. And then I think lastly would be the hook. Why should someone buy our NFT? In this day and age, I mean, like right now, on a daily basis, there's so many NFT projects that, are launching on every day. So what really sets us apart? Obviously, one part of it, I would say, would be the team. We are a brand with experience. Together with Tiger Beer alone, we have 130 years behind us of brand building. And I think when it comes to this space, like we saw just now, it's actually a really scary space. A lot of people are really scared buying into NFT projects and getting rugged, which means scammed, ideally. So they come in, they buy, but then the owners leave. So we've got 130 years of experience behind us. That gives confidence, one part of it. That's one part of it. But second of all, is actually like the utility and also, the type of experiences that we want to create, which I'm going to be talking about after this. Next slide, please. So setting ourselves apart. So I think first up, like I mentioned, leveraging off our rich experience, 130 years combined. Tiger Beer itself has actually a footprint of over 70 countries. So how then do we, take advantage of that as well? They're available everywhere. They've got a global office all the way in Amsterdam as well as in Singapore. How do we capitalize on that? Celebrating where we're from. Southeast Asia, highlights identity, culture, and heritage. I touched on that as well because that is what really sets us apart. And I think, and I really, I've been watching the art space and even seeing talent coming out of Southeast Asia. We have so many talented people, but just not enough platforms out there which are actually highlighting that. So, we also hope through our project, we're able to also, build that front. The give back element, so I mentioned 30% of our public sale went towards this Tiger and Cage platform, and then 20% of the 20% of all royalties as well actually go towards supporting artists, supporting musicians, and also supporting chefs. So this is we're going to be giving it to them in the form of grants over the years. Okay, I'm going to touch on the utility, which I've got one slide for it. Can we just go to the next slide? Okay. So utility, what makes us so special, right? And I think this also ties back to a lot of the thought process of how are we going to get the buy-in from non-crypto native people. So I think first up was, I think this is always my selling point whenever I talk to people, the Tiger Cheers program. So what is the Tiger Cheers program? The Tiger Cheers program is a monthly beer redemption program. If you have this NFT, you can go to any 20 over outlets within Malaysia and Singapore and redeem free beer for the entire year, for now. But there is going to be a cap. So that's always like my opening pitch. When I tell people that, it's very easy for them to straight away do the math. If I'm paying 0.05, how much beer can I drink? Does it actually make sense? So that's the first thing. Okay. Second of all is the in real life experiences. So the in real life experiences is all about, building communities on the ground. As a lifestyle brand, we've always been about, PMC has always been known as a party brand. Well, pre-COVID. So we used to, host a lot of parties. We used to do a lot of activations. We feature a lot of musicians, things like that. So even for this as well, for the Tiger Archives, our plan is to also be doing. We've got 6 events happening this year, which has already been disclosed. So it's going to be in Malaysia and Singapore. But these type of events that we're going to be doing, obviously, it's a given free flow beer, number one. But on top of that, obviously featuring the artists that we're going to be highlighting and supporting. That's number one. And then other things like getting the community together. So there's also going to be that aspect to it. And we really want to be able to create experiences which are different. So not your usual like, oh, you just go to a bar and we just meet up over there, but it's a full curated experience. So I don't want to let too much out of the bag. We're going to be, the first one's actually happening in March. So we've got that, so do stay tuned. Another big one as well, which people really like, is these NFT drops. So being a part of Tiger Archives as well, we actually intend, or we are already working with other artists from Southeast Asia. So for example, we're working with an artist, this really talented young chap from Jakarta, and he's actually building that first NFT. So this NFT, all of it again centered, it's all about being a platform to highlight these particular artists and to be able to feature them, but at the same point in time, to spread more awareness about the artists coming from our region. So that's going to be a big part of it. Digital experiences. Um, that word of metaverse has been used, over the past 1 hour. I think even as PMC ourselves, that is also something we always talked about. How do we continue to evolve as a brand? And definitely, obviously, a lot more research needs to be done. And I don't know much about it, but I think even for us as well, we definitely have seen other brands out there, other lifestyle brands, whether it be selling virtual clothes, whether it be creating different experiences. I watched my first comedy, sort of like stand-up comedy in the metaverse, which was actually really fun. The comic was actually picking on your avatar, things like that. So it was very palatable in terms of understanding it. But that was quite an experience. So I really think that is the future, and that's something that we want to continue to move towards. Next slide. Okay, so I'm just going to be taking you guys through a little bit of a timeline of what we achieved. So I think first up, hang on, let me see this. Okay. A few things that I'll take you guys through. Maybe I'll just talk about the summary first up. So, to kickstart the project itself, one of the first things when it comes to NFT projects is always about, is this companies here legit? So a big part of it was to really kickstart the project and start it with a bang. So having a partner again like Tiger, the first thing we did is we actually built a pop-up in Sentul Depot. So a few people were there, CC, a few of the guys came and they hung out and they actually saw it. So we wanted to kickstart the project, and that's the way that we launched it. So we had like a pop-up for over the period of Chinese New Year. That's number one. Second of all, a big part of communication, a big part of NFT projects is the community. If you don't have the community, you have nothing. So, and again, where all that community engagement happens, it is all on Discord itself. So for us, a big part of it, and it was a learning process. When we first kickstarted our Discord, obviously it starts small, but you need to be able to grow it. But just speaking to many different people, we managed to actually grow it to about 24,000 strong in terms of the community. This is all pre-sale, yeah? So leading us up to pre-sale itself, just to share with you, like when we went into this, we do this thing in NFT projects. There's this term called a whitelist. So what a whitelist is like, think of it like a pre-sale. Like you reserve a spot to buy before anyone else. So people, the way it works is that people normally have to work for the whitelist, whether it be joint competitions, whether it be sharing the project to people. Maybe you have to share to, in our case, we did it like, share it to 20 people. If 20 people come into our Discord, we give you a whitelist. So we're giving you an opportunity to buy. So in terms of our whitelist, I was actually really happy with the performance, and I think we had about 2,000 people on the whitelist. And what that pretty much meant is that we expected to at least sell 50% of our supply even before the public sale. That was what we were trying to go for. But little did I know, and this was obviously, just something that we've learned. Like within that 48 hours, a lot of NFT projects, right? A lot of it depends on hype. A lot of people want to be able to observe and see what happens. If people, if they come in and they see a lot of like this entire, the blockchain itself is so transparent, so people can see how many people are buying, right? And it's all about if you see a big wave of people coming in, then you feel FOMO, and then you want somewhat buy in, and that's always the concept around it. So for us, we actually only sold out 1,500 of our NFTs instead of, we were aiming for about 4,000, and we only sold out 1,500. And I told the guys, I said, shit, I think I don't think this is going to be successful. I think we're only going to sell out. If we can do half, I think I'll be happy with that. But again, this is where it boils down to having good partners. So I was talking to the devs, the guys from Melbourne, and they said to me, hey, Hugh, you know what? Maybe we can try out some ideas. So we actually did two things, which was actually really interesting. And I think it definitely played a part in the selling out the public sale. The first thing we did was that we ran a competition. So we told people straight away that if you buy now, so we created urgency. If you buy now, and if you actually buy the NFT during the pre-sale, we would give you another NFT. straight away. We'll take like a screenshot of whoever that bought, and then we'll have all your wallets, and then we'll transfer you an NFT later. That's the first thing we did. Second of all, the developers built a sales bot. And so what a sales bot is that it reports sales. Okay, and we actually put that into our Discord server in like the general chat. So within the server itself, there are like many different channels, and one of the channels is this thing called the general server, where it's like the town hall lah. Okay, so that's where majority of the conversations happen. So they built a bot and they actually put it into this general server. So what that pretty much meant, right? We created urgency, number one, and then second of all, in front of their eyes as they're chatting, like, should I buy? They're seeing all these sales in front of their faces. Lucky Tiger 5 minted, Lucky Tiger 3 minted, Lucky Tiger 2 minted, and that created a wave. And we actually did this. Our public sale was 12 p.m. on a Sunday, and we did this. It ended at 11:50. So that momentum was there, and as soon as we went for a public sale, we instantly sold out in like 10 minutes. I still remember that conversation, and I still get goosebumps still today because it's like a crazy feeling. But as I was there, we're like, hey, okay, not bad. We hit 2,000 mark. Oh shit, 3,000. Oh crap, 4,000. Oh crap, 5,000. Hugh, we're gonna sell out. We're gonna sell out. We're gonna sell out. I'm like, no way, no way, no way. Bam. Before you know it, within that 10 minutes, it was all gone. And on top of that, right, there was actually about 60, 70 ETH. What that means is that people actually tried to transact with the contract, but because there was no more supply, all the money was returned back to them, over 60 ETH extra. On that day itself, we had about 300,000 people send actions to the website in terms of whether it be trying to purchase or click things or whatever the case may be. Within that, this is like in the span of like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, like 300,000 people trying to click or actions on the website itself. So that was actually really interesting, and it was a great experience. So a few things that we actually found out, that 50% of our buyers actually came from the US, which I feel it's really, really weird because our utility is mostly based around, like, if you talk about the free beer, if you talk about the in real life events, they're all in Malaysia and Singapore. But why is 50% of our sales actually coming from the US? And I actually spoke to a person later that day, and he told me, oh, this is like 3 a.m. I was in like LA. I've got my computers all set up, looking for spikes in volume in projects. They don't even know what they're buying, right? These people, they look for volume, they know there's demand, they jump on, they're pretty much flippers lah. They buy and they flip straight away. So, and that created that spike. So they saw like, okay, there was really momentum in the project. These people, they came in, they started minting like crazy, and then more of these people who have their computers set up in that certain way jumped out a bit at 3 a.m. and started just buying a project that they know nothing about, that they don't even care about. They just care about making money. So there's also this big part of consumers as well, which sits within this blockchain or NFT space, which is good and bad. Obviously, we sold out, but then these people, maybe they don't care so much about the project. For them, they just want to be able to flip it. So that has also been a challenge for us. Okay, I think we can go to the next slide. I somewhat touched on the majority of it. Okay, so I've listed down about like 8 different takeaways from this entire project. So we can go to the next slide. So I think first up, if you are to start your project, track record is everything. A lot of people, especially now, just because there are so many scams out there, people want a docs team. So that is the term in the NFT space. What it means to be doxed is that I am Hugh Koh, I'm standing in front of here, the community knows who I am. And the reason they want to know who the brand is behind it or the people are behind it, because they don't want you to run away with their money, ideally. So it's all about, use it to your advantage, but obviously there are a lot of other people out there who maybe, they don't have that history. So, how else can you somewhat create it? But for us, we kind of knew that was a plus point. Tiger Beer is a well-known brand, PMC as well. We've got all these years behind us, and therefore, utilize it to the best that we can. So we're always talking about this. That's number one. Next. Sorry, next slide, please. The right team and partners. So again, I spoke about, getting the team getting the buy-in from the team and also the partners itself, because I think the partners were the ones like during the initial pre-sale, they are the ones that gave me the ideas and they've been guiding us along the way. Because like I said, I only got into the space, early last year. So, having the right partners to point you in the right direction is going to be super crucial, especially when things don't go exactly to plan. Having other people to think about it, I think that's very important. So the right team and the partners. Next. Marketing, marketing, marketing. It's not about any marketing, but it's also the right marketing. So something that I've learned is that for PMC itself, a lot of the marketing that we do, we use social media influencers. We work with just the conventional type of marketing like through Instagram. When it comes to the NFT space, no one cares about that. No one cares about if a certain celebrity is obviously celebrities, yes, but like a certain influencer. So maybe like an influencer, if they're talking about it, because it's not speaking to the right demographic. A lot of these people, they don't know what NFTs are, and therefore they look at it, oh cool, and then they move on. So I put here like the right marketing, and what the right marketing is a lot of it are marketers or marketing platforms or even marketing personalities that speak to crypto native people. So that's something that we neglected, and right now we're actually having to work on that right now. So reach out, and I tell you, some of these places, they're so expensive. Like Instagram, there's this like an Instagram account, even like the Mark Cuban one. I think it's called NFT, the NFT or something. I think they charge something like 4 ETH for one post, 4 Ethereum for like one post. I reached out to a few other people. They told me like for one tweet, they're charging like 0.8 ETH. It's like crazy money, right? It's I never could comprehend that. So, but that is the space. That is how this space moves. And so I think it's important. Like if you plan to somewhat start your own thing, already thinking about this from the get-go, you need money to make money, lah. Yeah, without a doubt. Next, keeping your audience engaged. So I'm that sort of person who, when I think of ideas, I get really excited and I want to be able to share it. And a lot of it is, within the space, right? For example, like Discord. Discord is a 24-hour thing where I still remember we sold out on like Sunday. Monday was it was like 24 hours, and then Chinese New Year, the first day, I think was Tuesday. So we did the reveal on Chinese New Year Day. So what happens is that people bought the NFT, but you don't know what you're going to get. And therefore, on the first day of Chinese New Year, it reveals what lucky tiger that you actually get. And obviously, I mean, all of us have our families, and it's Chinese New Year, right? So we are going about, I got my visiting to do. People on Discord are like saying, hey, what's happening? Is this project dead? Have people, have they taken the money and run? This is like 10 minutes or like, an hour since we last sold out. But that is the space. People will come on from America, and they'll come on like hour 3 a.m. and say like, why is this chat completely dead? It's that type of thing. They expect responses like instant. So even for us as well, one of the other big challenges has been we have actually started hiring people. So hiring people for the 24-hour, for that whole 24 hours, whether it be Malaysian time, my team, myself, I can handle that. But after that, Europe timing, and then after that, North America. So having someone who can always reply people, someone who can always engage and create activity and hype 24 hours a day, that is the space. So keeping your audience engaged as well, going back to that, it's all about, even though you may have these 10 different things that you are planning to do, but to stagger them. Because people expect, the community really expects something to, what is going to excite them today? What is going to excite them tomorrow? So something that we've learned as well, like, 2 days, 3 days of radio silence, everyone goes up in hell. Creating, they go pretty crazy. Momentum and speed. So I wrote here, hours are days, days are months, and months are years. One of the things which I found really, really funny, it was a comment from one of our community members. He said, Hugh, your project is a Web3 project, but with Web2 speed. It's Web2 speed. So like Web2 speed is like, you know what? I'm clocking out 7 p.m. I finish my work. I'll continue tomorrow. Not the case in this space. This space is 24/7 again. People expect things to, continue to move, and you need that momentum. So it's all about keeping the momentum up. Next. Welcome to the jungle. So I think when it comes to NFTs, even though, there's all this, but it's still a very, very new space. Our project has only been around for less than a month, and I've heard maybe 10 members or so tell me, Hugh, I lost all my lucky tigers. All I did is I connected to this site. All I did is this guy impersonated someone, and all my NFTs are gone. All my money is gone. And it's actually very scary, right? Because this space is, hackers are really, really smart these days. Like people, they would do, like I've got another friend's project who was supposed to launch the same time as us, and their Discord actually got hacked. And how they actually got hacked is that it was actually through, like, just say I'm an admin of the Discord. Maybe they create some sort of phishing links where I click on, and then my account gets compromised, and then straight away they kick all the other admins out from the channels, and then they start posting fake links. They create websites exactly the same as yours, and they direct the community to buy. So then people go and buy, and then but you're actually buying a totally a scam website from a scam website. So this space as well, like, this is something like I never quite understood, but our developers as well was always telling us, like, Hugh, when we were launching, right, he was like, Hugh, this is website 1. If website 1 goes down, we got website 2, 3, 4, 5, and we need to pay for this Cloudflare. It's $300. I'm like, $300, that's expensive, man. Like, he was like, no, you need that. So we've taken a lot of precaution, really looking at the Discord security as well, like the layers of it, what type of access people get, and I think that's the fundamentals of actually running a project. It's very important because you're responsible for the safety of all your members within the community itself. Again, emphasis on the community. Obviously, you have 14,000 people within your Discord community. You can't spend time with all, but pick those and engage with those people who are really going to be ambassadors of the project, because these are the guys. A lot of times when I'm not answering, a lot of people actually get really involved in the project, and they are pointing people in the right direction. They are telling people, this, you should do this, no, you shouldn't do that, type of thing. So emphasis on the community. Next slide. Hard work, no easy money. I think a lot of people always think like, oh wow, media portrays it that way. Obviously there's some there's some certain cases, but I think really that's like a dime in a dozen. For example, like the Ghazali project, this guy who takes a photo of himself for X amount of days, made a couple of million, or this kid who drew these whales and made like $1 million pounds. I think for us, if you want to be a player to be around in this game for long, I think it's important that the foundation is set up correctly. And therefore, it's hard work. It's about, setting the team up. It's about setting that structure up. It's about, planning, what's next. If you want longevity in your project, at least. So yeah, it's hard work. And I realized, like, I've been losing so much sleep over this project. Some of you guys know me, I like to cycle. I gave up all my cycling. But I hope to be able to get back into it as we hire more people for the team. But yeah, it's hard work. Something a little bit cool. I kind of thought, like, a little bit of a giveaway to all of you guys. So I'm giving away 2 tigers. It's just a lucky draw style. Just scan the QR code. And even those people who are not only here, but even digitally as well, if you guys are tuning in, scan the QR code. It's a Google form. Fill up your name, your email, and your phone number, and we'll pick someone tonight. So yeah, good luck on that. Last slide. Okay, hang on. Maybe hang on this slide for like a couple of seconds. Sorry, go back. Sorry, yeah, let's go back first, and then we'll just give them maybe 30 seconds to scan that. There you go. So 2 lucky winners. Please, yeah. Someone take a photo, then you can scan from the phone. Okay. You can send the link as well, whoever that loads it. Okay, next slide, last slide. Yeah. So is there one more slide, Winnie? Yeah, so I think, thank you so much. I hope that was insightful, and hopefully you guys managed to learn a thing or two. Thank you so much for having me again. And yeah, Tiger Beer on the house. Woo!
Great, the mic has been sanitized, all right?
Thank you, Hugh. That was very insightful. So, any questions? Well, yeah. So far, any questions from Zoom? Any question from Zoom? No, huh? So of course, oh yes, Vincent, yes.
So Hugh, how do you find these guys? Like these moderators, the guys who are in the NFT space, how do you find them? It's not like you, I don't know, they don't have office or anything. Like, how do you search them out in Malaysia or hire people with these sort of talents? Because there's no university course. You don't go to Job Street. It doesn't make sense. Where do you find this kind of talent? You said the team's really important.
Thanks, Vincent. So for us, I think first up, when it comes to moderators, it's all about trust, right? Like trust is so important. So one of the first things that we did when it was the pre-sale, we actually hired within our community. So we hired PMC fans. We hired, people who we already somewhat knew that wanted to be a part of this project and was somewhat understood the Discord space. We hired them. But I think after that, like right now, we actually pay our moderators right now. Previously, it was like, you know what, I give you a tiger, I give you two tigers type thing. But now, where it's like a proper business and we're trying to scale it up, we know that we need people there. It's not one of those kind of things where it's like if you're there, you're there. You really need to be there during this particular timing. So for us at this current stage is we hired as well from the community, always looking at who is like, who has been communicating well, who are the people who have been pointing people in the right direction, type thing. And then obviously we do our due diligence in terms of interviewing and asking them questions, whatnot, like a normal job interview. When you speak about like developers or maybe more technical type personalities in terms of finding them, I think the space is still very, very small. A lot of everyone somewhat knows, someone is, it's all, everyone somewhat interconnected. So I think that the idea here is that you somewhat need to actually start reaching out, and then that is somewhat that creates that effect, or you'll find or you come across someone. So for us, like our developers, I went to a few places. I went to like different Facebook groups. I was looking at like different NFT somewhat platforms, and there are many Discords as well that you can somewhat just Google search, and you just have to look around, but it requires time. But hours in the end, after I spoke to many, many different people, I had another colleague or ex-colleague who said, maybe you can speak to this guy. I think he's really bright. He doesn't have like a website or anything, but just jump on a call. So I just texted, and again, our own due diligence, because you're dealing with money, they're building your contracts, right? Sometimes like trust is the most important. So I needed to make sure that when we hired them, it was one of those kind of things like, number one, I know exactly who they are. So at least he's a friend of a friend. I said, oh, where's this guy stay? Is he in PJ area here in Malaysia or elsewhere, even though he's based in Melbourne? But I guess then you can decide on that level of, how comfortable you are, type thing.
Thanks, you. There's a question from Zoom from Patricia. How much investment for such project?
It's investment wise is actually time. I think it's mostly time. For us, even our design team, we have like 5 people, and even that, we have our day-to-day work that we also need to also finish. So we actually outsource. We did the mainframe of it, but we outsource a lot of that other work, like the coloring and all that. So we had to work with another, 4 or 5 designers on that front, just because we had a time frame of like 3 months to turn the design around. So I would say that was part of the investment. The rest of it, to be honest, nothing really much. I mean, you speak about smart contracts to deploy the contract. I think you can do everything within like 2 Ethereum. To deploy the contract, maybe you want to buy some bots for your Discord. Maybe you want to hire some moderators. I think 2 Ethereum is actually more than enough to kickstart it at least.
One last question before we move on to Ryan. What were your mistakes and what would you have not done if you were given a chance to turn back time?
Mistakes. Mm, I think something that like right now it's I would say it's a challenge, but it's also a good type challenge. Is is we didn't expect this project for it to we expected it to actually be more Southeast Asia focused, and because right now, like I said, 45% of our community actually comes from the States, and a lot of these people as well, like we've become friends over this past 4 weeks, and I wouldn't really say it's a mistake, but it's a new challenge. How else do we how can we somewhat keep them engaged? Can we continue to keep them as holders of the project itself? So even though this is our roadmap, we are saying that we will deliver all these different things, but I think it's important that we always are able to adapt and to change. So that's something that we've been looking at. How can we provide more value towards our holders outside of Southeast Asia? Something that we're working on.
Okay, thank you, Hugh. So Hugh will still be around. Yeah, so catch him with more questions after this. So Ryan, are you here? Right, where's Ryan? Ryan's also before. Yes, so yeah, so Ryan, as we all know, Ryan, he used to run a very successful container hotel. Yeah, due to COVID, he has to pivot. So he'll tell us the story about how he pivoted and how he gone into NFT and then had a very successful project that he's still developing right now. Ryan, come on.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me here. Thanks, Zico. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I've been member of EO for almost 8 years now, and I didn't started my journey as an NFT developer. Neither do I could imagine that I'm standing here today sharing about NFT. So it's really a crazy world. So without further ado, I only got two brief from. Is it okay? Right. I only got two brief from iLink. Keep it short. Share your story and tell the audience how they can make money. So I'm gonna do exactly that, and I'm gonna cut all the bullshit and straight to the point. All right. So I'm a project lead of our project. Our project is called Hikari Adventure. Yeah. So before I share my stories of Hikari Adventure, I'm just going to give a very brief of what Hikari's Adventure is all about. Hikari Adventure is an NFT project that is based on a manga story base, a project that is built, inspired by a lo-fi girl, a fiction stories that we came up with our themes and through the inspirations of our life and our imaginations. Right, the missions of the project is very simple. Is to bring Hikaris to life through NFT, through community, through blockchain, and through anime and manga. So the whole full series of our NFT has a collection of 8,888, and it was broken into two volumes. Volume 1 is 5,555. Each NFT represents a day in Hikari's adventure. And then the volume 2 is another 3,333. What we do is that after the first volume sell out, we work together with our community to carve out the second part of the story, and the community become the co-writer of the story. And together, it form a full story, and it will build a manga and anime out of that. So this project is built on the Solana chain, and then the public mint price is 1 SOL, which is about 100 over US dollar today. Right. Let me bring you into Hikari's journey and adventures. On the right hand side, you see that there's a Happy Akido. It's a arcade center that is located in the back alley streets of Japan, Tokyo, and the stories begin from here. So young girl that you saw on the pictures that is a 5 years old Hikari. And the gentleman that is holding Hikari's hand is the father's. His name is called Kase Kenta. And at the bottom is the Happy Aikido, is the usual joint that the father will always bring Hikari to. Next. Right. Dad, can I have the token? So on the left hand side, you see a small little cat face cartoon character. That's the tokens that is being used to play in arcade center. And as usual, Kase Kinta will always bring Hikari to Happy Aikidos to play throughout the whole night, and then they'll end up with a bowl of ramen. So there's this one particular night, as usual, as Kase brought Hikari to their usual joint and enjoy the arcade. All right. So the father received a phone call. So father took out the phone, and looked at it, and told Hikari, I'm gonna take this call, and then I'll come back in a minute. So it was really cool at night. Kasetinka took out his jacket, put it over Hikari, and tell Hikari, stay right here. Continue your game of jump jump. Before you reach the next level, I'll come back. Yeah. So actually, that was the last time Hikari saw her father. Dad, where are you? Tetsuya, an old man, have saved me. So this was actually 13 years ago. Today, Hikari is 18 years old, and that was the last time Hikari saw the father. The father was never to return for the last 13 years. Tetsuya is the old man that night was the managers of Happy Aikido, so the shop closed. And as he went out, he saw a little shadows along the alley, and little squat down was a Hikari alone there. So Tetsuya brought Hikari back and eventually became the foster father. It was unfortunate that Tetsuya had a terminal illness as well. Few days after Hikari is 18 years old, Tetsuya himself passed away because of a terminal illness. So Dan left Hikari alone, wonder about her life. She couldn't comprehend that, why 13 years ago the father left him, and today the only persons that she's close to pass away as well. So then Hikari decided to just, begin her adventure journeys to discover and to find out the reason why the father left her 13 years ago. So you can see that the collections of 5,555 NFT actually represented each day Hikari went out to search for her fathers over 15 years. It was broken down to 3 stages of Hikari's life. On the most left-hand side is rebellious age, and each stage represents 5 years. From 18 years old to 23 years old, Hikari was in a rebellious stage. She pretty much gave up on herself. She couldn't comprehend what happened to her, and then she just felt that the world is really unfair to her. So her companion, you can look at that, is mainly alcohol, molotov, fireworks, spray paint, destructive stuff. As she grew older, she slowly found her courage, and she went into a stage where it's called survivalist. Yeah. When she's 34 to 28 years old, during these 5 years periods of her time, she was in a survivalist stage. She found courage through stray animals, and you can look at her companion there that is stray animals. Rennie, would you mind to help me to take next? Yeah. So companion is stray animal give her courage, encourage her to continue on her life. And at the third stage of her life, that she slowly turned into early 30s and became mature adult. That's where she started to open up herself and receive help and also look past her past. So a companion, you can look at that, it's a balloon, it's back, and it's flowers, right? So these are three different stages of Hikari over 15 years. Each year is 5 years, and then each NFT represents a day, a moments of Hikari. So this 5,555 collection we managed to sold out about 2.5 weeks ago, a day, 2 days before Chinese New Year. So what we're going to do next is we're going to continue to build volume 2. So after the first sell-off collection of 5,555 NFT, now at the moment as we speak, we are working with the community to carve out the second story of Hikari's journey. And the second story of Hikari's journey will be represented through the 3,333 pieces of NFT art, and together with the 8,888 pieces, then it will form a full stories of manga, Hikari, and we create an anime out of this. So let me share a little bit of the utility and the roadmap of an NFT, other than you own a piece of an NFT art which represents a day in a moment of Hikari. So there's a term called staking in NFT, where you could take your NFT that you own, you put it into a staking pool, and the staking pool would be able to earn you token on a daily basis. So it depends on the tokenomics of the developer, it depends on the tokenomics of the design. So then you will earn like a passive income. So on our case, Happy Akido is a token that we created. So what you could do is that with the NFT that you purchase, you can stake it into our staking pool. On a daily basis, you earn 1 Happy Akido. All right? I'll share in a while what you can do with the Happy Akido token. So anyone would have able to collect a full 3 set will earn an additional Happy Akido NFT, which is an NFT by itself. This Happy Akido NFT is also an asset that you are able to stake it into the staking pool as well, and then it will earn you additional 2 tokens a day. Yeah, so it's like a booster accelerators for members that have higher collections, and it helps them to increase the tokens earning much faster. So what do you do with token? There's a few utility to it. One of it is that you are able to forge and merge your NFT to become a rarer collections. In a while, I'll share with you why is this important. Second thing is that you can earn the coin, and then after you have accumulated enough coin, what you could do is also exchange of a merchandise. And then the third is you are able to enter into a metaverse game, and where you are able to have an experience of play to earn. So let me just show you one by one. First one, Ultimate Hikari. What does Ultimate Hikari means? With 3 regular NFT, you are able to forge it to become 1 Ultimate NFT. So how is this important? Right, this is stage 1 Hikari, plus stage 2 Hikari, plus stage 3 Hikari, and then with 100 tokens that you earn through about 3 weeks time, you send these 3 NFT to us. Together with your 100 token, we burn it. Why burning mechanism is very important? Because it's the collections of art. The rarer it is, the smaller the collections, the price increase. So collector will want to have a smaller collections that help to push the asset price higher. So that's first mechanisms that are able to help to push the price higher. Second mechanism that are able to push the price higher is that in the world of NFT, the ranking makes a lot of difference. Imagine like a baseball card, like a Pokemon card, the same series of Pokemon card, a baseball card from the same collections, it can have 100,000 times difference. The same card that you're having, it could worth $1, another person could having it and worth $1 million, simply because that it's so much harder to find that specific trait, and yours could be easily found. So one way to increase the ranking is that if you look at the picture here from the most left-hand side, that picture itself has 8 layers, and in the NFT world we call it traits. So the background is one trait, the hairstyle is a second trait, the facial expression is a third trait, the bubble gum, which in our case is the accessory, is the fourth. You can either get bubble gum, you can get mask, you can get sword, you can get keyboard, stuff like that. And then the outfit is the 5th, the shoe is the 6th, the companion, which tell the different of stages, is 7th, and you have a weather there. So what you do is that at each NFT that you have out of the individual 8 traits, you will see a percentage there. So out of the 8 trade percentage, for example, if you have a value of Spring, it's actually a bit rare, it's hard to find. So the ranking is higher. So what you could do is, right, out of each NFT, you pick 3 trade, the most rare one from your NFT, and the second one, the most rare one out of 3. So you combine together and form one ultimate Hikari. So this ultimate Hikari will have the best ranking, the best rarity, and eventually you the best earning. And then what happened to the next 3? Will burn it, and then it's no longer in the collections, and whoever else that don't have it will then increase as well. So that's one way to increase the value through burning mechanism, through token, and through forging. Second is what we create. It's called game. Game is really popular in NFT world. What you could do is that there's these terms in NFT world called play to earn. Right. If you have heard of XC Infinity, is a really popular games where people hire tons of scholars just to play game on a daily basis, and then they earn actual US dollar. It became a job by itself. So what we could do is also, what we are doing actually is also, this is a Jump Gun game that has already created in our website. You can go in there, you can play a demo. But what more importantly is that on the metaverse, which we already purchased 2 pieces of land in the sandbox, what we'll create is that a virtual arcade game where, remember the token that you are earning on a daily basis? You are able to use those tokens to play the arcade, and then the arcade gives you score, with in return generate token, exactly like the real physical arcade, how it works. And with this token, this ticket, you are able to redeem real life merchandise. So that's the utilities of our Hikari. Let me put it into a better summaries. I invite everyone to join into Hikari's adventures, because this is one of the opportunity where you are able to emerge into a project that is building from the ground, that is entering the metaverse and creating manga and anime. You are owning a moment of Hikari's journey that is one and only through the 5,555 pieces of NFT art. Each of it represented one day, so each of it is actually unique. And then through the forging process, you are able to increase your level, you are able to earn the Happy Aikido token on a daily basis, and this token enable you to enter into a game where you are able to win tickets, and the tickets change your realized merchandise. So that's pretty much it, and this is yep, that's about it. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, so I think they are doing quite a lot of things in one project. I think there's DeFi in there, there's play to earn. Yeah. So okay, so I think we have a few questions from Zoom. Any question from the floor here? Who makes Hikari pregnant? Okay. So who determines the story? You want to answer that question first?
Very good question, Michael. So everyone has a voice, but the president decides. So like EO, everyone has their voice, but the president decides. So if the president thinks that she shouldn't get pregnant, then she won't get pregnant. So it's a vote of all, and then the final cast will come to the one that has more holding, and then eventually we think that what is right for the story, we will put a majority. If it's a good one, of course we'll follow, but if it's something that is really out of the way and doesn't contribute a value to the totality of the projects, then it wouldn't be something that we will be considering. Correct, exactly. So what we're doing is that imagine 20, 30 years ago, when Pocahontas was created, when Snow White was created, when Mulan was created, when Mickey Mouse was created, right? It was always created in studios, through a small productions, and then they bring it big, and then after 10, 20, 30 years, the world sees it. So now in the world of NFT, you can actually reverse cycle the whole mechanism, right? You create something that the world know about it, and then together as a collective action, we build a story, a brand, a series out of it. So it's a reverse cycles that instead of you build it and let the world know it, now together as a collective action, we build these projects and make it famous. And whoever that own it actually own a piece of the experience. Imagine if you could own a piece of NFT of Snow White was created 30 years ago. Right, that is something that cannot be buy, something that cannot be purchased. So yeah, that's the great thing about NFT because you can really reverse cycle the whole process of it.
Love the story, love the creativity. So my question is, do you still go back to the old-fashioned process of storyboarding, creating to come up with this? Is there still the old process? I know your methodology starts now from there and come back here, but is there still storyboarding? Is there still creation of? I'm not a producer. I'm just asking because of there's a lot of creativity, but there's also a lot of discipline to create that story. So is there a storyboard? Is that the same way comics or movies are produced?
Yes and no. So storyboard is pretty much being replaced by individual NFT. So the NFT that you are looking at it right is a journey of Hikari. Each represent a day of Hikari. So there's a storyboard that we have crafted behind it, and then the front page of the image is NFT, which is essentially a storyboard. If you look at it 20, 30 years ago, this is the storyboard that how the story is being created. But now it became an asset where you can own. So you own part of the storyboard. The first 5,555 NFT, we created it. So we sold it out 2.5 weeks ago. And then the second series of the 3,000 over pieces, we do a guiding tour. All right. So we say that, now Hikari has decided to start her adventure. All right. So there's these 3, 4, 5 places that Hikari can begin her search. The first one is that should she go back to the Aikido store that the father left her 13 years ago? And the second, should she go to the police station or go back to the old house? Or there's a few guiding tours and all that, and then they choose it. And then from the narrative, we go to the second one, right? So most of the people chose go back to the old house, right? So then now she's now at the old house, all right? So then after that, she saw a dilapidated house that no one is staying inside, right? So what should she do, right? Then again, question, and then she entered the house. There's a few things that she saw inside. There's an old phone book. There's a there's a change and all that. What should she do? All right. So there's an objective and subjective question that we carve it out, allowing the community to contribute, but not in a accordance way, in a guided tour way. So it's not too mass. It's not suddenly somebody decide, no, I want to get Hikari pregnant, right? So it will be guided. Exactly, Michael. You got the point. So the point here is to create a universal global brand that then it became a franchise. In fact, we have already franchised the brand in 5 countries: US, Singapore, Europe, China, Malaysia, and Singapore, Australia as well. So what happened is, right, when this manga come out, it became a brand, right? So we don't have to produce the anime myself, because producing anime will probably cost 1-2 million. So what we could do is we go to a production house to say that, hey, Hikari is a story that's been created through NFT, through the communities, and these are the assets. We own the asset, we are Marvel, we are Disney. So what we could do is we license you this brand, you do the production, right? From the production income, you give us loyalty of 10-15%. And then with the loyalty, we distribute back to the holder. So we don't have to do the heavy lifting. So then I'm in fact also collaborating with one of a few brands, attaining that there's a Hikari brand here. Actually, in fact, it's a figurine. So they want to create a figurine. So we have this brand. So I don't have to do the figurine. We license Hikari brand to them, they create a figurine, then we do a JV sharing where they pay the brand owner 10-15% of the royalty, and then that is being shared to the owner. I mean the holder. Yeah, thanks.
So a few more questions. I think they are related to each other. Do you run the project as a DAO? Yeah, and then also, what strategy does your team have to create a community that will grow with Hikari Adventure? What strategy do you have for your community to grow?
Yeah. So like Hugh shared, actually I didn't share a lot of the backstory because Hugh had shared a lot, and I totally 100% agree with what Hugh had shared. Like, building this community, building this project is it looks easy, but behind, right, I cannot imagine. If we knew that, if I know that it's gonna be so hard, I wouldn't even dare to step in, right? Honestly speaking. So creating community is one of the hardest part of any NFT projects, because community is an asset of an NFT, right? For an NFT to sell out, the only reason you could sell out because you have a community. The community is an asset. A fellow that has 10,000 community can draw a bullshit, the bullshit can be sold off. It doesn't have the utility because the community supported it. So to answer that, there's no simple way out, right? We've been building our communities for the last 3, 4, 5 months. Initially, when I created this project, I wanted to create it and then sell it out the next month. Use 1 month to build the community. That didn't happen. I wanted to take second month didn't happen, 4th month didn't happen, 5th month didn't happen. Until it's Chinese New Year, I've got to set a deadline. Once the deadline is set, got to do it or break it. Then I was lucky enough to pull it through. So until today, we are still building a community, right? And then NFT projects, there's different way. Some is long term, some is going and flip. But for our case, we just want to tell a story and build a big global brand that you go a long term. So same thing as well with community. We are taking a hard way, one to another, like making friends. So until today, we are still building it. We'll see how it goes. So answer is time, and there's no short way. And marketing cost is really crazy. I mean, spending, I cannot even imagine how much we spend on that.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. So Ryan is still be around, so we can ask more questions. So without further ado, let me introduce Henry. Henry will be zooming in. How's our internet connection? Zooming in from Australia. Henry and Roy. Yeah, so let me introduce Henry first. You can hear me, right? Yeah, Henry is the chair of Pillar with substantial global investment experience, serial entrepreneur, board member of multiple private and public companies, former head of investment of Atlantic Quantum, a sovereign backed for corporate venture fund, currently sits on the investment committee of the Hive Southeast Asia Fund. So Henry, can you hear me, Henry? Yes. Oh, well, we can't hear you, Henry.
You have to unmute me.
Okay,
can you hear me?
Now we can hear you, yes.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Zico. Great to see so many old friends here today. Yeah, my journey basically in blockchain was probably about 5 years ago. And that's where Roy and I got together, and Roy started Pella. And we started basically building exchanges and wallets and part of the first ICO boom back in 2017. So since then we evolved, and we've been doing lots of blockchain projects, basically the enterprise space, especially for banks and governments. Really, really boring stuff, but pays the bills. And about 14 months ago, one of our clients asked us and said, "Hey, could you help us build an NFT platform?" And we were like looking at this NFT thing, and a penny dropped, and we go, "Wow, this is amazing." And so we built probably, we believe, is the world's first mobile NFT end-to-end NFT platform, and that was 14 months ago. And since then, it's been 14 years, according to Hugh, and it has been 14 years. We have hardly slept in the last 14 months, and so it's been a crazy time. It's a lot of excitement, lots of key learnings we've learned through this journey. Recently caught up with Eileen, and was just sharing with her what we've been doing in Australia and around the world. We've had many projects around the world, and she thought it would be great for us to share our journey. And what I like to do is introduce my partner and my CEO, Roy, who's going to be presenting today. He's the guy who's the the technical genius behind our company. And at the same time, maybe talk a little bit about his experience as well as some of the other projects we're working on, which maybe could be interesting for everyone here. So without further ado, I'll pass the floor to Roy.
Thank you, Henry. It's fantastic to be here over Zoom, to be presenting and sharing some of our journey. Let me share my screen. Give me a second. And great. So I understand we're running a little bit short on time, so we'll try to be fast. I think we're all hungry, and I'll walk through some of the projects that we have done, what we do at Pella, talk about the market a little bit, and how I invest into NFTs, because I think it's an important question to answer. Just a little bit more about myself. I have been a serial entrepreneur for the past 15 years, many lifetimes of craziness and technology. So in that journey, I've created e-commerce companies, social networks, video gaming companies, media companies, a lot of different things. And in 2012, I bought some Bitcoins, and very early in the days of cryptocurrency. And since then, I've been bitten by the cryptocurrency bug. And in 2017, seeing the whole blockchain scene frothing and blowing up, I jumped into the blockchain industry essentially full-time, because I think this is the future of money. It is so important to participate in this industry. And I was super excited about, I had this buzz that you get in the .com boom, that butterfly in your stomach feeling. So I even get even excited talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency today. So since 2017, we've won numerous awards. We've done a lot for the industry, and have even been showcased in the National Blockchain Roadmap in Australia. Being an Australian company based in Melbourne, we are super proud to be showcased by our government. So in terms of the things that we do, we build cryptocurrencies, we build digital wallets, we build exchanges, we build everything around money. And every day we process about 10 million transactions, and that's pretty crazy. Like some days we even do 15 million transactions. So when we're growing our company, one of the things that I thought was super important for this industry and for the future is I kind of had this prediction, right? So in 5 years' time, and this was in 2017, in 5 years' time, all the important transactions in the world would be on blockchain. And I thought it was such a revolutionary technology, and everything that was important is going to be on blockchain. So fast forward 5 years, it is and it isn't, and that's essentially what we're seeing today. This is super, super interesting, because we thought your land title, your wealth, your investments, your digital assets is all going to be on blockchain. And there wasn't really a suitable technology for it until early 2021. That's, again, I had this butterfly in your stomach feeling, that buzz, right? Just like the .com boom, just like the early crypto days. So it came around, just like Henry said, a friend of ours asked us to investigate into this technology. And I think Ryan certainly covered it a little bit in terms of what is NFT. And to me, cryptocurrency and NFT are two sides of the coin. So cryptocurrency is money. You use money to buy something, and the thing that you buy is an NFT. It's actually that simple. And when you look at the world, you have money, many different types of currencies, many tokens, many economies, but you use that money to buy something else. It could be cars, it could be paintings, it could be houses, it could be investments. And a lot of those digital assets are NFTs. So, and that also realizes when you look at how social media and media has evolved. You have Twitter, which is text, and then you move to YouTube, which is video. And I think the future of social media, the future of internet is very immersive. So you have AR, VR through desktop, and some people will call that a metaverse. And in that world, in that digital world, the money that you spend would be crypto, and the things that you buy would be NFTs. So that's my view. And I think it's quite a simple view. And that's why I think NFTs are super, super important. So like Henry said, we've deployed a few different NFT projects. I'll share some of these with you. We initially started building a gallery. We helped a digital gallery, and we helped these very famous Melbourneian artists, street artists, to sell every single one of their Instagram posts. And we were selling each Instagram post at 0.1 ETH, and it generated more than $1.7 million US in under 48 hours. This was a very good accomplishment for the artist because they've never made so much money before. It's transformed how they view digital assets and how their art could be monetized. And every single one of those projects, just like Ruben said, just like Ryan said, we have to build communities. We have to talk about marketing. We have to deploy technology, and every single one of them is a learning lesson for us. And we've also built a business on top of our technology, which is a NFT marketplace. And essentially taking a token, which they use as a valuation of their company, from zero to millions, multiples of millions of dollars today. So I think today's valuation of the company in their coin market cap is about $30 million. And these are just companies that's created using the technology we have built. We've certainly done our PFP projects, Q animals, dogs, and various things, and that has generated $1.6 million US. We've done a partnership with Wall Street Bets, a very famous Reddit investment community. We created a play-to-earn game following the success of Z1, and that has raised over $3 million since the inception. And the latest drop that we did about 3 weeks ago has generated $1.7 million, and it was sold out, fully sold out in 40 seconds. So a lot of success there. And one of my favorite projects is the Australian Open. The Australian Open is one of the biggest tennis event of the year. And it generated more than $1.5 million US in a very, very short period of time. And Henry suggested I actually should show the site because it's quite a beautiful site. So I'm just sharing my screen here, making sure. Okay, so this is a really interesting project. It's a digital collectible. It's a beautiful, beautiful tennis ball. And it's generated many different times. There are people who could upload artwork, and that artwork will be turned into a tennis ball. And that tennis ball actually represents a position on the tennis court. So as the matches are playing, if that position gets scored as the winning point for that match, your ball would be updated with additional data and additional trophy. And people love to turn this into a game and see if their ball has won a championship. And for those that have won matches, the championship matches, you will actually get a physical tennis ball. So it's quite a fun project, and has truly defined, a very large sporting organization and how they feel VIPs should be treated. How do they deal with membership? How do they deal with exclusivity and reward loyalty? So we don't really talk about it. We've actually done it, right? It's pretty cool. And there's a whole metaverse play. So these balls would enable you to unlock a whole section in Decentraland, which is a metaverse. Now let me see if I can open up their Twitter page. So the official Twitter page for this project has a great video showing the
want to be part of some of the action watching on TV.
So this is Channel 9 News, a very large news organization, and it just shows the metaverse that we have built inside of Decentraland. And if you're a winner, you get to play, tennis in the metaverse. You get these cool tennis balls as a costume that you can run around in the metaverse, and so on and so forth. It's a really cool execution in terms of this particular campaign. I think the campaign, this project has been executed flawlessly, and super proud of it. So let me talk about a little bit about the industry. I think in this whole experience, we've learned a lot about NFT as a technology, how it can be used, in a larger corporation for a larger brand, and gained a lot of expertise in creating that next generation of experience and next generation of interaction. So firstly, I think Ryan touched this really well in terms of NFTs are an important part of our culture. Just like in the past, being on a newspaper or having a lot of likes on Facebook, NFT is a very, very important part of our culture. A lot of celebrities use NFTs to show a social signaling, and by that I mean, in the physical world, we might drive a nice car or we might wear a beautiful watch, but in digital media, we will have a avatar, a picture, a profile picture that is could be a really expensive or really special profile picture. And that in a way shows your identity. It's almost like wearing a Rolex. And we have some of the largest celebrities in the world: Paris Hilton, Jimmy Fallon, LeBron, Snoop, or embracing this trend. And we are seeing more and more people participating and jumping on this important part of this cultural change. So we see, these things on basketball shoes and things like that. And that's why most of the projects that you see on OpenSea, the largest NFT marketplace, is all about profile pictures, right? So previously, we've all spoken about, projects like Bored Apes. When it was initially created, it was only hundreds of dollars. It was, a few $100s to mint. But now they're $300,000 each. So if you got in early, you would have made a lot of money. And when you look at projects like new upcoming projects like Cool Cats, they're all great illustration of this. And essentially, we have seen this new industry booming that came out of nowhere, essentially nowhere 1 year ago. So OpenSea, being the largest marketplace, has saw almost $5 billion of sales. And that's crazy, just last month alone. And like I said, if you got in early, you would have captured a lot of gains. So, okay, let's talk a little bit more about investing. And I think an important element in here is, are we investing or are we collecting? Okay, and I think those are quite different things. So I love to collect things. So and I have put a lot of money and a lot of time into collecting beautiful NFTs. So here are some of my NFTs. And personally, I like to buy things that that is pretty. It's actually that simple. That I would love to hang on my wall at home if there is a digital frame in the future, and I love to show my friends how beautiful it is, and if there is a story behind it, behind these paintings. Let me show you some of these really, really beautiful NFTs. My screen stopped. Let me re-share this. Guys, I think Zoom is having some issues. Okay, let me use this screen instead. Sorry. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen okay.
Yes, we can. We can, Roy.
Okay, anyway, that aside, I think my computer is frozen, and let's just carry on with this conversation. So here are some of my NFTs, and each of them has a story, and they're beautiful, and I'm super proud to have these, right? So that is what I mean by collecting. So you buy the things that you like, and potentially, maybe if other people feel this is equally beautiful, you can, you would potentially appreciate in value. But the other side of that equation is investing. And there are three essentially methods that I think we could potentially adopt. First is the spray and pray approach. I had some slides on that, but let's just illustrate. Spray and pray approach is you literally go to a secondary market like OpenSea. And you try to buy a little bit of every single project. You look at which projects are popular, and you dollar cost average in, and you maybe take a position of the top 10 projects, you know, once a month, and you do that over and over, and you don't sell until 5 years later, and potentially, you know, some of them would appreciate in value. I think no one really knows what is the right way to invest, because this industry is so young, and there hasn't been that much data accumulated and performance accumulated in this industry. So of course, you know, it's important to do your own research, look at all the data and metrics out there. But you know, spray and pray is one approach. Another approach is actually to look at the
Roy, sorry, just to let you know, your screen is frozen.
Right, okay.
It's art blocks.
Right, okay. Let me leave and come back in.
Sure. Meanwhile, Henry, you want to unmute yourself if you've got something to entertain us with? Are you able to unmute, Henry?
Okay.
Okay.
I was trying to, but I couldn't. Right. Yeah. So I think yeah, Roy is about to share his collection, and I think it's his insights are quite interesting, and we actually do spend. I think like what Hugh was talking earlier about spending lots of time on Discord, And I think that's where all NFT people live. And he's not wrong, because it's a constant battle daily, especially from the community. You know, and because all NFT projects are basically fairly global. Even our projects here, which we launched out of Australia, 2/3 of our collectors actually come from the US, right? So that's a big time zone difference between us and them, and so, you know, we're getting pings at all hours of the day, and, you know, have to deal with lots of issues. What's super interesting about this whole space is that it's all really new, and everything we do is basically, in every single project we try to take on, is literally a world first. Literally, like when Roy was showing you the Lush Lux project, it was the world's first project which we scraped off, and we basically created NFTs out of somebody's Instagram post. And to do that, you've got to build you have to build tools to basically do that, there's no existing tool. For the Australian Open, same thing. You know, no one's ever integrated real life match data into the NFT and then back into the metaverse. We've got to go build those tools, and so it's just been a really interesting journey, and it's always about pushing the boundaries, and that's what makes a lot of these projects really interesting. Is that people are always looking for what's new, what else can you do, and so we're really making a lot of creating a lot of creating a lot of new ground, so to speak, which is interesting as a VC or a former VC. You know, I've been in the space where I've looked at through history, right? We created a Lazada because there was an Amazon. We created a Grab because there was a Uber. But right now in this space, we're all in. Here in Southeast Asia, in Australia, everywhere, we're all an even keel, and all of us are making groundbreaking projects globally. And I think it's such an exciting time to be in this space right now. So that's where I think it's some of the really interesting insights that I think we can share. And well, Roy's back, so Roy, please continue. I was just entertaining the crowd.
Thanks, Henry. Good job. Roy, you got to unmute though. Let's see whether I can unmute him.
Yep,
Hey.
excellent. We're back. Yeah. Sorry, everybody. I think the Russian hackers finally got me. We do so many projects and they're so high profile, and I think, you know, I'm an attack vector. But you know, just like let me bring the slides back. So as I was saying, investing is a little bit different. Investing is a little bit different, and the first approach, it's the spray and pray approach. And the typical spray and pray approach would be going to OpenSea. It's actually not that difficult to do, to execute. Go to the top projects and buy a little bit of each, right? The other approach is to buy blue chip NFTs, right? And the blue chip NFTs are the ones that has been around the longest, the ones that has sustained its value and its continuous value, right? And those are Bored Apes, the Fidenzas, the Cool Cats, the Punks, so on and so forth. And finding them isn't actually that difficult too. So you go to OpenSea, you go to what are the ones with the highest volume, and, you know, just do your research and look at the various projects out there. But a Bored Ape is quite expensive. So if we go to the floor price, the lowest price of Bored Ape is 98 ETH, and it's, you know, $300,000 US. So it's a pretty big investment. And the next option to invest is potentially look into fractionalization. So buying a part of a blue chip NFT. And that actually brings us to the next point. We are creating our next big thing, which is called 576 DAO. it is a DAO, just like somebody asked previously, and 576 is because 24 by 24 pixels. So what we're doing is taking blue chip NFTs and dividing it into many smaller parts and offering them as a NFT for you to buy. And as a DAO, we would recycle that cash over and over again and participate in more asset classes and more NFTs. That's essentially it. And, you know, I wanted to keep it short and sweet so people can get to the dinner. And I'm sure, you know, you guys have a lot of questions, more than happy to answer them.
Any questions from the floor?
Thanks, Roy. I just want to mention that this DAO that they are on, there's a lot more to share. It's a little bit like when we buy REITs in land, you know, when we cannot afford to buy properties, so many properties on our own, what they're doing is we are all buying into DAO, and everyone owns a bit of that piece of NFT. So you can relate that to REITs. That's easier for you to understand.
Exactly right.
Any questions from Zoom? No questions so far?
There are questions on Zoom. Maybe I should read it out because I can see it. From Ruben, do you feel any privacy risk given that all these expensive NFT holdings are public for anyone to see?
Yeah, this is a great question. So on the Ethereum network, where most of the wealth is, and most of these transactions are on, all of these transactions are public. So these transactions are, I bought this particular NFT, but the accounts don't need to be. So anybody with a hardware wallet, software wallet can create, you know, infinite number of accounts, and they can stay completely anonymous. You know, you can use a service like Tornado Cash to, you know, transfer funds anonymously from one account to another. And with that fund, you can go buy NFTs. Nobody in the world will know who you are because behind the scenes, it's just math.
Okay, good. And the second question is, if you do invest in DAO, how does it give back in returns? That's very important.
Yeah, sure. Every DAO has its own commercial model. And some DAOs are established for public good and they probably never give any return. Now, with our fractional NFT DAO, we're almost setting it up to be like a mini hedge fund as an analogy. We would use the funds to buy NFTs and then fractionalize them. And we essentially have three business models. One is sell the fractionalized NFTs for profit. It could be, you know, 10%, it could be 25%. And we keep some of the NFTs that we fractionalize within the DAO for the DAO members. The second is the royalties. With all the fractionalized DAOs that is sold in the secondary market, every single one of those transactions will pay back 5% to the DAO. And the third being we hold some of the fractionalized NFTs. The fractionalized NFTs should appreciate in value. So those are essentially the three revenue streams of the DAO we're establishing. And we will be providing back almost like a dividend, or you can, in the future, potentially sell your DAO tokens on a DeFi network like Uniswap.
So did you mean 10% in per annum or per what
the math is pretty crazy. Because it's a new asset class, it's a very speculative asset class. Every time we sell the NFT on the primary market, we will charge a premium. So that could be 20%. And we're intending to do that multiple times every month. And from a secondary sale perspective, so from a marketplace where people are buying and selling amongst each other, we'll be charging a royalty. And that royalty is 5%. So every time a transaction occurs, we will be collecting 5% of that transaction. And in our past projects, we have seen substantial amount of revenue generated from secondary market.
Okay. Okay, I think you can read the questions as well. Why not just buy fractional
Excellent.
NFT on art?
Yeah, so Fractional.art is a fantastic platform, but it's a user-generated marketplace. So anybody can participate in that platform. They can take their CryptoPunk, they can fractionalize it into 1 million coins, and you can then buy, anybody in the world can go and buy some coins, right? And it hasn't taken off. Buying NFT is a psychological experience. I want to show off my NFT. I want to show it in my gallery. Like you buy art, you don't want a piece of paper to say, you know, you have a bit of art. You want to show it in your gallery. And that's what fractional NFTs can do. It can exist in your gallery. So you can show it to your friends, but at the same time, we're fractionalizing in a very small amount, not in millions, so only 576 pieces. So each piece has a decent value. And at the same time, we are the people deciding which art to buy. We are experts in this industry. We have done this numerous times. We have generated a lot of marketing community, and we'll be deploying that community onto this new project.
Okay, I've got a few questions which were sent directly to me. How do you distill the essence of fan-based behavior or enhance community culture to maintain engagement at a high level beyond using NFT as a pass for perks?
Yeah, great question. We see so many projects out there that are entirely FOMO based and hype based. And, you know, it's fairly rare to find people who have done this a few times. You know, the very first one is always the most difficult, but once you've done a few, like Henry said, we don't sleep. You gain a little bit of expertise on how to create a positive community. And that's exactly what I have done in the video gaming communities that we have built 10 years ago, building that positive culture. But at the same time, it's about empowering users, giving them responsibility. In a way, it's like teaching my kids on, you know, responsibilities and ownership. And building a healthy community isn't an easy feat, and every single project has its own challenges.
Okay. Well, the next one is pretty long. Second one is any ideas on how to tackle piracy, which is putting off artists from launching their digital art?
Yeah, great question. Well, firstly, we are in a hyper-connected world. For an artist to launch their own art, it's relatively easy to be on social media to say, you know, I am the authentic artist behind this creation. From an investor perspective, it's important to do your own research, to look into the website, the community, the social media, the other sources of opinion, whether it's podcasts or news articles talking about this project. It's important to differentiate the real people or the pirates, right? But you're right, anybody can create a smart contract and deploy an NFT. And a lot of the platforms try to do curation, try to have that blue tick, and it's important that, you know, both artists and the collectors protect themselves.
Okay, any other questions from the floor?
One last question from TT. Can I read it out? Web3 project startups run on a different rhythm altogether from traditional startups, with the boom just bust cycle happening with much shorter cycle. Any tips for founders wanting to launch Web3 projects Any insights into roles played by the newly minted CVC funds launched by the crypto exchanges versus traditional VC, albeit crypto focused?
Great question. Web3 is a very different space, and it's inherently open, like Lego blocks. A lot of the things that we do, we want to deploy as public utility. So, and because they're on the blockchain, other people can build on top of it. And everything is open, from technology concept to open source. It's very different to the traditional world, traditional technology, where everything is hidden behind closed doors. So building on top of other people can help you to accelerate and get things quicker, get things done quicker. And it's a very, very small community. And you can go and participate in that community with a lot of ease. So for example, the Tiger Beer campaign, I actually had, I belong to this NFT collectors club, right, called Proof Collective. And one of the other members from Melbourne in the same group are the developers for the Tiger Beer campaign, Rashan. And it's really cool to talk about the project and pains that they've gone through. And in the future, we might work together on the next project that we're working on. So make friends, I think it's a really important aspect of that equation. And the second part of the equation is about funding source. Yes, it is traditionally difficult to raise capital from the VCs. And now there are alternatives to that. You can do a token sale, you can go to exchanges who all have, funds to deploy to new projects. So you have a lot more options out there. And it's important to weigh up the pros and cons. Maybe you want that connection, the network effect from VCs, or maybe you want potentially faster time to raise capital from the retail market, predominantly through crypto exchanges and token sales.
Okay, for the last question we'll take is that from Ruben, for more prominent artists, it is easier to be verified, but for many smaller artists who may not be well known to begin with, often get their art stolen, making it difficult for smaller players. How do you think this can be addressed?
Great question. I don't think there is an elegant answer today. Hopefully there's a more elegant answer in the future. Maybe I think we're in this weird time of transitioning, maybe from analog to digital, from radio to TV. And in that transition, there are a lot of things to be worked on. And the coolest thing is the smartest people in the world are working on crypto, are working on blockchain, are working on NFT projects. Maybe today we don't have the answers to how do you authenticate every single piece of art. Maybe in the future, it's a lot easier. So for example, Twitter, a few weeks ago, integrated the NFT integration with their Twitter profile. So instead of a circle, if you have a hexagon, the NFT that you're displaying is real. So as an artist who has an existing presence, they can potentially link their social media presence, the digital presence, to a Web3 presence. And maybe that will be a much better way to authenticate in the future.
Okay, over to you, Zico.
Okay,
Roy.
Thank you, Henry. Very, very insightful, a lot of digest. So I think, thank you for zooming in all the way from Melbourne. Yeah, and so if we have any questions, we can still email to Stanley so we can ask them. yeah. So housekeeping. Actually, I have one more thing. So we're almost at the end. So actually, I have one more thing to share. Actually, the easiest thing to share. There's the project that I'm doing, right? So how do we use NFT in a real life product, right? So this is something that I've always been pondering since I got into crypto since 2014. Yeah. So we are launching a new. All of you know that I'm doing a baby product, right? So we are launching a new baby product, and then we are using NFT as a membership and a loyalty program. So it's something that in the consumer industry, something pioneering in this using NFT. So also give you a glimpse into what we can do in the future with NFT. So in the future, actually NFT will use in a lot of membership, concert tickets, conferences, movie tickets, and all this all will be on NFT. And this is how easy it is to do that. But before last year, this actually was not really possible because it's too expensive to actually mint NFT in many in the thousands, right? So, but now there are a lot of technology, a lot of solutions out there for us to do this. So what we do is, so we have minted 4,000 of this. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So 4,000 of this. So we have 4 characters. So we have minted 4,000 of this, 1,000 each for each characters, and we will put this in our product. So this is our box. So we will put this randomly into our box. So parents who bought this, actually randomly, they will get a card like this. They can scratch it. They can actually scan. It's a very easy 3-step to claim the NFT. Scratch, download the wallet, and just claim it. So if they collect one, they got some perks, right? They got some free product. They get some perks. But if they collect all 4, they got a lot of perks. Can you go to the next slide? So I go really quickly. I know it's almost at the end. Yeah. So this is a very good NFT is a very good way of doing loyalty program and membership program because it can be transferred easily, it can be traded, and then it can be verified very easily. Yeah. So we have 4 characters. Of course, next slide. 4 different characters, and these characters all have different attributes. Yeah, and it's not all minted on the blockchain. So the reason why we can do this now very cheaply, because now you have something called a sidechain. So we work with a very old and original blockchain company called Engine. They have created a sidechain called Jamnet. So we actually basically can mint 4,000 of this NFT for almost like very, very cheap, almost free. Yeah. So that's how we can afford to distribute it out and put in the boxes. If you use Ethereum blockchain to mint this one of these will every time you mint how much? 30, 50 US dollar? Yeah, which is not possible if you want to. It's more expensive than my product, right? Yeah. So yeah. So this is how we use it. Yeah. So you can see if you have one, you get free cereal. Go to the next one. If you can collect 4, next slide. You can collect all 4. You get a lot of things. You get limited edition NFT drop next time. You get a free voucher. You get a free lucky draw. You get to be our part of our membership. Invitation to special events, and then 3 months supply of all our cereals. So this is the way that moving forward, I think a lot of people will start using NFT as a marketing tool. Right? So we are continuing to explore this where we can do. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so we have a roadmap where we're going to do a loot box. A loot box basically like a lucky draw kind of thing, right? So it's an NFT loot box. You get it. You don't know what you get, but if you own 4 of these, you get one of those loot box, right? And yeah, and then of course we're going to play do a play to earn game where the mommy can play to earn baby products. And of course, then we have a roadmap later on with like what Ryan is doing, and we're going to build like a metaverse on the sandbox. Yeah. So this is in a nutshell what we are doing. So if you have any questions, I'll still be around. You can ask me later on. So before we end, yeah. So for those of you who are here who have kids, come and see me. I can give you an ang pao with NFT. For those of you who's online, for the first 10 to email me you download the Engine wallet and email me your Engine address. I will send you it's very easy to send, right? So I can just send you a QR code. You can just scan it. You can claim your NFT. Yeah. So that's all. Thank you very much. So, Henry, over to you.
Wow.
Oh my God, this is mind blowing. This is great incentive for you guys to stay. Come and pick their brains. We have 3 people NFT EO members, so please make use of the information. Okay, housekeeping. Dinner will be served shortly, and then we have whiskey, so please stay back and enjoy the whiskey with fellow members. And of course, let's finish the tiger beer. And we do have souvenirs for everyone. Please grab a souvenir before you leave. And we are sad to say that we don't have events in March. I think it's time to take a break. Almost every month we have an event, so it's time to take a break, a rest. But we'll be back in April with something very interesting. We'll be connecting with a EO Global at MyEO. So it's very, very, bringing the platform to a global arena. Something like we can invest in as an EO group. But that's later on in April, all right? Okay, without further ado, I would like to extend my appreciation, Eiling and mine, to our speakers. I would like to invite Hugh. We have a very small gift for all the speakers. I'd like to invite Hugh first. Take photo. Take photo. Got free NFT or not? Free NFT. Exchange for NFT. All right, thanks you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, and to the creator of Hikari, Ryan. Thanks. Gotta be father. All right, thanks. And also to Zico, the day chair, who has done a lot of work. All right, and last and not least, thank you so much to my EO chair, Kenneth Teo, who has extended unwavering support to our MyEO group. Thank you guys, please enjoy your dinner and drinks.